This question came from Mike. He asked, "Can you use the recoil principle of firearms to create a flying vehicle?" I was a bit surprised, but the answer is yes, you can. Let's figure out how. The principle here is Newton's third law. If you fire forward, recoil pushes you backward. So if you point the barrel downward and fire, recoil should launch you upward. But will it work in practice? The first thing to determine, can a weapon, when fired, generate enough thrust to lift itself? If the weapon weighs 10 kilograms and its recoil is weak, it won't take off. In aerospace, this parameter is called thrust-to-weight ratio. If it's less than 1, the vehicle cannot leave the ground. The Saturn V rocket had a thrust-to-weight ratio of about 1.5. And surprisingly, its many firearms also have a ratio around 1.5. This means that if you stood a Kalashnikov vertically and fired, in theory it could jump at the moment of the shot. Recoil force or thrust depends on two things. 1. The mass of the bullet and propellant gases ejected from the barrel each second, and 2. Their muzzle velocity. Multiply mass by velocity to get thrust. Let's say an assault rifle throws 10 grams of lead per second at 700 meters per second. That gives roughly 7 newtons of thrust, enough to lift about 700 grams. But that's just the bullet. Real thrust is 30 to 40% higher, because superheated propellant gases also rush forward. So one rifle can only lift itself plus half a kilo of payload. It won't lift a person. But what if we use several? 2 barrels will lift 1 kilogram. 30 barrels, about 15 kilograms. That's the weight of a teenager. With 40 barrels, a person could lift off with 0.1 g acceleration. 60 barrels would give 0.2 g. The more barrels we add, the smaller each one's share of the total weight becomes, and the more efficient the system gets. But here we hit the fundamental problem of all rockets: fuel. In our cased ammunition, every cartridge has weight. If we add 150 rounds, our jetpack becomes too heavy to take off. So there's an optimum. Many barrels, but a limited ammo supply. Calculations show the ideal configuration is about 300 barrels, each with 150 rounds, firing in short bursts. This monster could accelerate vertically to 80 kilometers per hour and reach an altitude of about 200 meters until the ammo runs out. So, Mike, yes, with enough weapons, you could fly. But our contraption is completely impractical. Can we do better? Let's look at professional tools. The Go-Plate Avenger is an aircraft cannon, a giant automatic weapon. It generates nearly 5 tons of thrust. For comparison, the jet engine of the A-10 aircraft it's mounted on produces about 4 tons of thrust. Theoretically, if you aimed to Avengers rearward and fired, their recoil would exceed the engine thrust and the plane would fly backward. If you mounted this cannon on a truck and fired, you could brake from highway speed to 0 in under 3 seconds. And the Soviet naval autocannon AK-630 has an even higher thrust-to-weight ratio, around 30. That means if you stood beneath it, you'd experience 30 gs of overload. You'd be crushed. As it turns out, engineers have been using recoil for propulsion for a long time, but just in a different context. For stabilizing satellites in space, for example. But for human flight on Earth, guns are too inefficient, too dangerous, and too complicated. They produce deafening noise, incredible heat, and simply litter the ground beneath you with lethal lead. So, Mike, your idea is theoretically sound. But in practice, stick to proven compressed gas jetpacks. They're far safer, for the pilot, and for everything underneath.